All right, guys, today is Thursday, May 19th, 2022, and it's late in the afternoon. It's pretty much 4 o'clock p.m. now. So I've got the 55 engine. I'm going to be pulling it out, this 406. I'm going to completely dismember this engine. The heads are coming off, the crank's coming out of it, all the pistons and rods are coming out of it. I'm going to get to the bottom of this and find out what's unhappy in here, because there's definitely a knock in this engine. There's something wrong. I really screwed up. It's my own fault. Nobody to blame but myself, because I had a knock in it, which now it's louder, but it has gotten louder. At first you couldn't hardly hear it, and now, before I tore the engine apart to, fix what I thought I fixed, but now it's worse, so it's only going to get worse. But I should have pulled every one of the rod caps and all the main caps, maybe except the rear, because of the rear main seal, and I might have found something. But I didn't. I only pulled a couple of rod caps in the front and pulled the front main cap because the sound sounded like it was in the front. So this engine is coming back apart. So I'm going to have to buy a whole nother engine gasket set for this again. And, if something's wrong with the crankshaft or something, that's going to have to go to the machine shop and be fixed. So I don't know what to think about this deal. I know a couple of guys are still saying it's the fuel pump push rod, and I don't know how it can be. When I took the fuel pump push rod out of the engine, took the fuel pump off the engine and started it, and it still had a knock in it. So there was nothing in there to move around to have a knock in it. So it is something internal, and it does not sound happy. So I'm tired of messing around with leaving it in the car and trying to figure out what it was. There was no marks inside that oil pan of something hitting it. There's no marks in the timing cover showing anything hitting it. So even all the valve trains working in it. So I have no idea. I would be very surprised if it's a rotating assembly bearing issue, because I plastic gauged half of the stuff. I didn't plastic gauge every rod and every main, but I did do about 4 of the rods and 2 of the mains. I did half of it, which is what I usually do. But I don't know, man. That's pretty strange. So it kind of blows me away. You know what I mean? I can't explain it. As many of these small blocks as I've built and drag raced and blown up and rebuilt, I've never had this kind of issues as I've had with this car, with an engines. I mean, this is insane. But I pretty much had enough of it, and with all this aftermarket crap that's on this engine, it could be something that's just not happy in there. I mean, who knows? The only thing original is the crank, the rods, and the engine block. Everything else is aftermarket. So, who knows, man? Oh no, the timing cover itself is factory GM. But the oil pan's Dorman, which the stupid drain plug leaks no matter how tight you put it. So, that's a good quality part. I know a buddy of mine that his Dorman oil pan leaked as well at the drain plug, so probably need to change out to one of them rubber blue Dorman gaskets and put behind it. That'll probably seal. That's how he fixed his. But anyway, pretty bummed out. It's amazing how much money's in that engine, and it's just not happy. But so I've made a decision. I started cleaning up the garage today, and this is pretty much how I've got to do it, because if you've been following along, my truck engine started knocking and it lost oil pressure, so that engine's pretty much done in my daily driver GMC long bed there. So I am afoot, and the idea was to just focus on this car, because if I'm afoot, I've got to get something running and driving. So that was kind of my thought process behind finishing up the car enough to at least drive. Maybe not finish the upholstery and stuff in it, but have it to where I could actually drive it and use it, for whatever I needed to do. But it's just not going to happen. When you think about it, this engine's got to come back out and come back apart, and probably going to have some repair done in a machine shop, probably more bearings or whatever, gasket set and all that, and it's going to add more downtime to the car, because if it goes to the machine shop, they're not going to work on it immediately. It's probably going to be there a month or two. So the only real way to go about this is to go ahead and do the truck engine, because I don't have anything to drive right now. So this is probably going to be a month project, and that'll be about a week project. So the reality is that's going to be the best way to go right now. So I do have the exact engine that's in that truck sitting right here. This is a short block that I've already overhauled. This is an 87 Monte Carlo SS 305 engine. That's an 87 305. I am not putting a 350 in that truck. A lot of my buddies are like, I'd put a 350 in it. I don't know why I would even consider putting a 350 in that truck. It runs just fine. I got 270,000 miles out of that thing. I didn't. My father-in-law did pretty much. But, you know, there's no need to put a 350 in there to burn a little bit more fuel than the 305. There's no sense in it. I'm going to have to go track down a 350, and then it's going to need rebuilt. I've got a 305, the exact engine that's in there sitting right here that I can put in there. So this is the smartest, best budget idea to go with right here. If I had deep pockets and a whole bunch of thousands of dollars, I probably would go to find a 350 one-piece remain block, you know, and rebuild it and all that. But I don't. So I'm going to replace exactly what's in there. I did want to keep that engine in there, the numbers matching engine, because that was my father-in-law's truck. He was all about originality, and even though it probably wouldn't matter on a long bed half-ton GMC truck, even 20 or 30 years from now, whether it's a numbers matching engine or not. But the reality is, with that thing making noise on the bottom end like it is with no oil pressure, that crank's going to be fried. So that crank is at least going to need turned. So that would be at the machine shop for probably a month. So this is really the best way to go. And I'm not interested in doing a temporary engine on that truck. I want a one and done it, be over it. So this engine I built for my wife's 55 four-door is a cruiser. So I will just in turn use that engine from that truck in the four-door. So that's pretty much the only route I can go at this time, because I don't have thousands of bucks to go through here and do all this shit. So I got to do with what I got. And right now there's a rebuilt short block right there. But my buddy Jason gave me this engine back, I don't remember, I think it was late last summer, I don't remember. When I tore that engine apart, it looked like a brand new crate engine to me. The bottom of the lifter still had the swirl marks on them. The cylinder wall still had swirl marks on. There was zero ridge. Everything was super clean, and I would have swore that was like a new from GM 305. But he doesn't know. He bought the Aero Coupe from somebody, and the engine was in it, and it wasn't hooked up or something. Anyway, so I pretty much put new rings and bearings in it, honed it, cleaned it all up, took it apart, cleaned it up, and then, you know, put it back together. But it doesn't have cylinder heads on it. I had a set of perimeter bolt 305 58cc heads back here that I started lapping the valves. I did one head. The other one needs the valves finished, and then those need assembled with new valve seals, and those will be ready. Those are perimeter bolt, so those won't work on the truck. The truck is throttle body fuel injection, so it needs a center bolt head. And I asked Jason if that engine had heads on it, because I couldn't remember, and he said yes, it did. So what I ended up doing today was cleaning up everything, and I found the center bolt 305 heads off that engine over there. So they were stuffed up under my bench with a bunch of crap on top of them. So I do have the center bolt heads there that I'll have to clean back up, and I'm going to lap the valves, put new valve seals and all that, freshen them up basically here in the garage. But they're pretty rusty, but it's all I can do. So I do have a 305 to put in place of that one. So it should be a direct bolt in. I won't have any surprises basically. But that's going to be the best route to go for me, and that's pretty much all I can do, so I'm going to do that. But if it doesn't rain, it's probably going to take about a week. I'm estimating about a week on the truck. It may take a little less. I don't know that it'll take that long, since I've already got the engine, pretty much the short block done. But I'm going to do it all right there in the driveway. But if it's raining or something, I'm not going to be able to work on it. So that's probably what'll put me under right there. But I've got this Vortec 305 that Jason brought me, that I bought from him. He actually paid the guy, and then I paid Jason back. But this is a Vortec 305. I'm going to end up using this engine. I'm going to overhaul it and put it in the 87 T-Top SS Monte Carlo. So I do have a home for that eventually. But anyway, my best route to go right now is that 305 that's already short block done. So that's what I'm going to do. So today, before I quit for the evening, I want to get the 55 hardtop moved over. I want to get the four-door in there and a lot of stuff moved out of the way. And I want to make sure that four-door body goes up far enough that I have a little bit of space, at least a few feet here, to get the engine hoist folded up and put in here, and maybe set up my table and put the parts on the table. But I also need a couple of feet of space up through here to get to my bench vise in case I have to use the wire wheel, or not bench vise, but grinder, in case I need to use the wire wheel. So I'm gonna try to get this trunk lid inside the house, put back in the spare bedroom. So that's the plan, and then I can move the truck up here, and then that'll be where I build everything and do all the swap is right there, because there's got to be enough space for my wife to get her car under here, because, you know, springtime weather, if we have a hailstorm, I don't want her car stuck out there to get hailed on. And the other thing about it is, if something happens to her daily driver car, she's not going to have a way to work, so we're going to be in trouble. So that's why I said I'm kind of stuck. So that's kind of the smartest thing to do right now, is just do the engine on the truck and get that over with. So I'm going to pull the engine and trans together on the truck, because that transmission needs all new seals put in it. I'm not rebuilding the transmission, I'm just putting new external seals in it. I'm going to pull the converter out, put a new front pump seal in it, put a tail shaft seal in it, a shift shaft seal, the dipstick seal, and the speedometer housing seal. Probably pressure wash it and clean it up real good. And then when the engine's out, I want to go in here and pressure wash the frame, and I may go in here and spray paint it or something, and then again I may not. I mean, the frame is, you can see the frame, it's fairly clean, but there's a lot of stuff this truck's going to need when I get that engine out of there. I've got a new AC compressor to put on it, and a new dryer, new O-rings, and an orifice tube. This compressor's original. It started leaking from back here, so it leaked all the Freon out of it, but the bearing started rattling in it, so I went ahead and took the belt off of it before it seized up. Looks like I need to put a power steering hose on it. I do need to replace one of the heater hoses, but I'm going to pull the radiator out and flush it out real good. I'm probably going to pull the condenser out, and I'm going to flush it out. Man, the old freeze plugs on this thing are green. This thing it marks its territory, we'll say. It has the self-lubricating chassis option. This is a remand alternator, and that was kind of a mess. When I first put a remand alternator on this a couple of years ago, I come back home, put it on the truck, started it up, and it wouldn't charge. So I took the alternator back off, took it to O'Reilly's, got another one, and then it worked. But lately the bearing's been squealing on it when you cold start the truck. But after it got warm, it quit. So I'm hoping it's the rear bearing on these alternators. They're just open. So I can put some grease in there, but if it's the front one, I'll have to buy a new bearing, which I have a remanufactured SI10 in there that I'd taken apart, so I may take the bearing out of the front of it and press it into this housing. This is an SI12. So anyway, I've got just little piddly stuff to do, and then of course that intake manifold is more than likely clogged up. I can show you right here. This is pretty common on a TBI GM engine. I've actually seen this several times. This is a TBI intake manifold that Jason gave me for spare. See how that is completely matted, clogged? So this would throw an EGR code. My truck has a check engine light that comes on intermittently, and when I had it checked out, it was EGR. So this is more than likely what's up with my truck as well, which will cause them to run a little bit rough sometimes. It doesn't idle real well. So it's basically going to be going through quite a few of the systems on the truck. So I'll put a new EGR valve gasket on it and clean the intake up. I'm going to take the throttle body off the intake and clean it up. I did that when I first got the truck because it didn't run very well then. But I got it to where it run really nice after that. But now it's back running rough again. So I'm going to go ahead and put a new water pump on it, because this one, somebody's replaced it before, but if I'm going to put a new engine in there, I'm not putting an old water pump back on it. I'm going to go ahead and put a new one on it and be done with it. But I'm going to go ahead and paint the engine black and clean up the intake and repaint it and everything. So I at least want the engine to look good if I'm going to have it out of there, you know what I mean? But I don't think I'm going to do anything with the manifolds. I'll probably just bolt them right back on. I'll clean off the oil crust off of them, but I'm going to have to get some new spark plugs. I put these plug wires on there. These are AC Delco. These are probably still good, so I may end up just reusing them. But anyway, there's quite a bit of stuff that I'm going to do while the engine and trans is out, which is, you know, reseal the outside of the transmission case and, you know, flush the radiator. I'm going to flush the heater core, which I already put a heater core in here. this rear heater hose is pretty crunchy, so I'm going to go ahead and replace it. I actually need to go look and see if I can get a new one of these. This thing seeps out the bottom. I think it's got a little bitty hole in it somewhere. I've replaced the hose and tightened it up and everything, and it still leaks a little bit, so I need to see if I can get a new overflow bottle there. It's just, you know, it's going to need stuff, you know. Probably go ahead and put a new thermostat in it too, which I already did that when I first got the truck as well. That truck did not run very well when I bought it and drove it home. It was dying at stoplights and all kinds of stuff, and I did a mega tune-up on it and got it running really nice, but this past, I don't know, 3-4 months, it's gotten worse, running pretty rough again. And then the EGR valve or lights keeps coming on, so it's got issues. But anyway, so I'm getting ready to spend pretty much what money I had left on the truck, but within a week I should not be afoot anymore. That's the plan. So sorry I can't finish 55 right now, guys, but I'm stuck. You know, I'm at a crossroads, and it's either go straight, go left, go right, or turn around and go back the other way. And I got to tell you, I'd love to be able to just turn around and go back the other direction. I cannot tell you how much I would love to go lay on a beach right now and just relax and just forget about all this crap, but I can't. I got to keep going, you know. I drive old vehicles, and this is what you get when you drive old vehicles. They don't last forever, so and I don't mind, because at the end of the day, it's not a car payment, and it's not full coverage insurance that I have to pay, you know what I mean? So that is the plan. Well, I guess that's it, guys. I don't have anything else to talk about, but that's the new plan. I guess I'm going to